So mistake number 4, not spending time reading important documents. Not reading. You know, there for some of us as men, we see the value in spending time and picking up a good book to read. Some of us don't have that problem. From time to time, I'll read a good book, or I'll read an article online, or for most of us, when we do read, we camp in the sports section. We camp in the sports section on what happened, um, on why Patrick Mahomes got sacked 5 to 6 times in the Super Bowl. Why did he throw 2 interceptions? We spend time, reading the sports section, finding out who did well in the NBA celebrity game. But when it comes time for us to read important documents that can impact our life through the decisions that we make, that we go into partnership or agreements with others, when we don't spend the time to read those important documents, and we don't invest the time in finding an expert who can help interpret those documents, ultimately what can happen is what we sign and enter into a contract to can be a harm or detriment to us. Well, we could lose certain rights and lose certain benefits that we were always entitled to, but because the other party was banking on that we wouldn't read those documents, when we didn't, we end up losing rights and benefits and certain things that we're entitled to. This happens a lot in the music industry. If you have watched recent documentaries on certain music groups or artists, like New Edition, documentaries on certain famous female artists who didn't spend the time to get someone to help them to read those important documents and to interpret what those documents were about, because they were so focused on getting a record deal, myself included, one time, and recording a record and getting my record on the radio and being played. But then when it came to how to promote that record and how to move from recording a record to ultimately working on putting an album together, working with a record company that clearly had no experience in working with hip hop artists, but they would just had the experience as just being in the music industry, because I didn't take the time to read that important document, I ended up losing rights and benefits to that song over a period of time. I didn't take the time to seek out someone who could help interpret what was in that document or documents. And so that was a mistake that I made, that I had to learn from as a young man, so that I wouldn't repeat and do again. And so I share this with you, especially those of you who are in YouTube, in podcasting and content creation, who's seeking out brand deals and sponsorships, and you want to be able to bring in other streams of income. And so you're hungry, you're thirsty in getting your first brand deal. You're hungry and thirsty in entering and getting a sponsorship, so that you can be able to monetize your YouTube channel and getting more money, or monetize your podcast. I want to encourage you. I want to not only encourage you, but I want to caution you that when it's time for you to start looking at those things and important documents like contracts are put before you, I want to caution you If you're not confident in being able to read and understand what's being put before you, all that hard work you put in building that podcast, all that hard work that you're putting in building this YouTube channel, seek out the right people who can help you to read and interpret what's in these legal documents so that you don't lose rights and benefits to your podcast, so that you don't lose rights and benefits to your YouTube channel. Because when you make the mistake in not reading, you ultimately are going to open yourself up to pain, disappointment, and heartache.